everybody, my name is Tanya and this is my March wrap-up. So some of the beginning of March was taken up with the Unhyped Reads Readathon, which I've already done a wrap-up of those books, which I will link again down below. But somehow I've got 9 other things to talk to you about today, so let's get into it. The first book I have feels like a very, very long time ago. In fact, I technically read this one in February, but I haven't wrapped it up anywhere yet because I did my February wrap-up a little bit early in preparation for the Unhyped Reads Readathon. I finished this during Unhyped Reads, but didn't talk about it in my wrap-up for that, so I'm now getting ready to talk about it now. And so that one was an audiobook, and that is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, and I absolutely adored this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, very high 4. It was just delightful. I loved it a lot. The audio version I listened to was narrated by Juliet Stevenson, who comes kind of highly acclaimed when it comes to classics of this kind. I listened to her narration of Middlemarch last year, which was fantastic. She did the voices and the accents fantastically, and I would highly recommend it. So North and South is the story of Margaret Hale, who is a grown young woman living with her family, her parents, and at the beginning of the novel, her father, who's a pastor in like a small town in the south, kind of has a bit of a crisis of fate and ends up leaving the church, and they move to the industrial north. And so it kind of goes on from here. Margaret has spent quite a lot of time in society in London, and so she has quite set views about what society is, and that's very much challenged when they move to the north. They move to a very industrial area full of mill owners and workers and that more working class society of people, and her perceptions of what society is and what good breeding is, and all kind of is challenged, and it's just so wonderful. I thought Margaret Hale was a fantastic character. On the back here it describes her as one of the most original and fully rounded female characters in Victorian fiction, and I would definitely echo that. I think she's such a fully fleshed character. A lot of the characters in this are, and she just jumps off the page, and it's quite complex and it's not handled lightly. Like, I think it's really handled very, very well, very, very in depth, a very, very interesting look at it. There's of course a bit of a romance in here, which was absolutely delightful. It just, when this finished, I wanted to keep going. I was just so fully invested in the characters. I came to really care for the characters, and I would highly recommend this one. This one's been on my radar somewhat for a while, but not very pressing, but I end up picking this one up after watching Alicia from Ex Libris and her Books for Lovers video that she did in February for Valentine's Day, which I will link down below, and I love this, and I'm so pleased for that push to have picked this up because I adored it. The next book I completed was also an audiobook, and that was The Enchanted by Renee Denfeld, which I don't own a physical copy of, but as always, pictures up here. This one kind of left me feeling rather flat. So I'd heard lots of fantastic things about this around Booktube, but I don't think I ever really connected with it at all. So I did this one as a somewhat buddy read with Alicia from Ex Libris, and I think there were some others, but we didn't really get very far with discussing it because it was just kind of a, okay, I don't really know what I think about this. I still don't really know how to enunciate anything, and now that time's gone by, it's kind of all faded a little bit more. I felt myself I just never really connected with it in any way emotionally. I never got really invested in the characters. The Enchanted is set in a prison and is following characters on death row, and is told from the perspective of one of the inmates, and it focuses kind of on this woman who is a lawyer that tries to get inmates off death row, and so they're still in prison for life, but freeing them from that death sentence. And it kind of follows her and working on the case of another inmate in the prison, and the outcome of that, and really getting into his backstory and the horrible things that are in his past and her past. And I'm sure it's all, I know it's all very touching and very horrific, but it never touched me, and I don't know why. I don't know whether it just wasn't the time for this. I don't know whether it was the audio version, just didn't have me connect with it. The audio version I listened to is narrated by John Frangione, and it was fine. I didn't dislike his narration at all. I was left without any strong feelings about this one really at all, so there's that. Next book I have to talk about though is a complete joy, just a complete pleasure read, and that was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I've been meaning to read this for a very long time since it came out. I had previously read Vicious and absolutely adored that by V.E. Schwab, and again just inhaled that one. This was quite similar. I heard mixed things on this one's release, but I found, maybe not as good as Vicious, but I found this was exactly what I needed at the time, and I loved it. So I finally got around to picking up A Darker Shade of Magic because it was part of the BooktubeSFF Awards, part of the shortlist. I'm sure you've heard plenty of people talk about this one before, but basically this one is set in a world where there are a series of interlinking Londons, so a stack of kind of 4 worlds on top of one another, and about a man named Cal who has the ability to move between these Londons. And so he is from Red London, where magic is prevalent and strong, White London, where magic is waning and hard to control, and a Grey London, where no magic exists, it's just like our world, and then a mysterious Black London, which has been sealed off from the rest and nobody accesses. And so it follows the adventures of Cal and his run-ins with girl pickpocket Lila, and their kind of snarky, bantering interactions, which I really enjoyed, and they go on like an epic quest, and there are horribly wonderful bad guys, and you know, just it was a joy. It was, you know, action-packed, it was fast-paced, great literature, maybe not, but sometimes that's just not what I need. I just need something that's fast-paced and fun, and this definitely fit the bill. I was completely invested in this one. I went on and I ordered the second book in the series before I'd finished, because I just wanted to keep going and going. When I actually got to the end though, and I mentioned this in my February and March book haul, when I got to the end of this one, I kind of went, I think this actually would work as a standalone and there doesn't need to be a sequel, but I own the sequel now and I'm very much looking forward to reading it. The next book I have was another complete joy and another read for the BooktubeSFF awards, and that is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. Again, you will have heard probably a lot about this, and again, it's something that I've been meaning to read for a while, so it was good to pick it up. Nimona is a graphic novel, as you can see. The art is quite simplistic but very colourful, very animated. I really like the expressions. For the different characters, I thought it was just a lot of fun. This is the story of Nimona, who is a shapeshifter. As this one starts, Nimona decides she wants to be the sidekick of our resident bad guy, Lord Blackheart, and so she rocks up in his store and says, "Hey, I'm your new sidekick," and he's like, "What?" And it kind of goes on from there. The antagonist of sorts in the story, who is actually the good guy, is this guy over here, which is Sir Ambrosius Goldenloin, and he and Blackheart have got a bit of a past. And that interaction was delightful as well. I love that a lot. There's just, you know, lots of action, lots of fighting, lots of Nimona trying to kick butt, and, you know, Blackheart going, "That's not how we do things. You can't kill people. Like, that's not what being a bad guy's about. We have to play by the rules." And it's just funny and amusing. Again, highbrow literature? No, but it's not trying to be. I think it's wonderful. Next book I read is another graphic novel, and one that has already gone back to the library, but that is the second volume of Rat Queens, which is the far-reaching tentacles of Nugaroth. Something like that. And I enjoyed this, but I didn't enjoy it as much as the first volume. I enjoyed the first volume. I didn't love it like a lot of other people did, and this one was kind of a step down again for me. So, you know, I'm somewhat interested in continuing on, but not particularly fussed if I do or not. This continues to follow the Rat Queens, who are a group of, you know, feisty kick-butt ladies of different kinds of races. The ladies continue to kick butt in this one. I didn't care so much. It was okay. It was a fun way to spend, you know, an hour or two reading, but didn't really leave much of a lasting impression on me. The next book, unfortunately, also didn't leave much of an impression on me at all, and that is The Goalie's Anxiety at the Penalty Kick by Peter Hanke. This one was originally published in German and has been translated by Michael Roloff, and just a big meh about this one. I kind of enjoyed it okay at the time. It's faded even more since then. I think I gave it 3 stars with kind of a 2.5 caveat. I think I would drop it down to 2 stars now, and I might just do that. It was okay. I was interested in what it was kind of doing, but the execution was kind of a little bit meh. So this one is kind of a study of the destruction of a man's life. The goalie from the title is our main character, and we are following him around and him kind of suffering a mental breakdown of sorts, I guess. He begins acting in a more and more erratic way. It follows him kind of aimlessly wandering around. There ends up being a murder, and it follows on from that, and his kind of self-destruction from that point. As I said, I'm intrigued by what it was trying to tell, and that kind of study of the human mind and the way, you know, he's acting, and the psychology behind that is really intriguing, but it hasn't stuck with me at all, basically. I read this one because it is part of 1,001 Books You Must Read Before You Die, and I'm glad to have read it, but I didn't take much from this at all. The next book I completed in March was I Call Myself a Feminist, The View from 25 Women Under 30, which is a collection of kind of essays And this, of course, was the March pick for the Feminist Orchestra Book Club, which has been set up and organised by Jean from Jean Bush Thoughts, and this was our first month and our first reading. I still haven't managed to join in the discussion on this one, I keep saying that. Same with the BooktubeSFF Awards, I suck at that kind of participation apparently. I will do better one day. But of course, I picked this one up and I really enjoyed it. There's been some interesting discussion about this with people who maybe have read a little bit more about feminism in the past, found this rather basic and, you know, didn't really offer anything new for them. As somebody, as I've spoken about before, that is a complete feminism noob who hasn't really paid any attention to anything about feminism in the past, coming into things, you know, relatively blind and fresh as it is, I found it quite enjoyable. I definitely, because this is the stories, kind of personal stories or observations from 25 different women, there are essays, if you can call them, you know, essays that I enjoyed more than others. There are some that maybe spoke to me more than others, and then others that didn't really speak to me at all, or that maybe I even disagreed with in some cases. So this is made up of these essays, which run, you know, for a few pages each, you know, kind of vary in length, but breaking up those essays, there are also kind of single page or in some cases single line quotes from different women from history, and I actually really enjoyed those. I think some of those spoke to me more than some of the essays. I know other people have expressed that they didn't enjoy those, that it kind of broke things up and threw them out of it, and they didn't like that. That was actually one of my favourite points of this. As I said, I think this is a really good starting place when it comes to reading about feminism, and I can understand why maybe other people who are a little bit more knowledgeable wouldn't take too much from this. I don't know whether a lot of my mindset has changed or whether there are a lot of things that I kind of went, yes, you know, like a complete mind change moment. But as I said, there are some things that definitely spoke to me in this, and I really found these to be quite enjoyable. So I definitely consider this one a very good introduction for myself for the topic and look forward to diving into further books in the further months. And again, I will have all the details for the Feminist Orchestra Book Club linked down below. There's a Goodreads group, so come and join us, and everybody's welcome, and let's all learn together. Next up, I completed my Agatha Christie for the month, and that was They Came to Baghdad. They Came to Baghdad is one of her books without a regular detective. It's one that was a first time read for me. I'd never read this one before, and it wasn't my favourite. So at this stage of my Agatha Christie chronological read-through, we are post-war, so this one was originally published in 1951, and this one again is quite an adventure-y Agatha Christie book. Now, right back at the start of her career and the start of her writing, there are quite a few books that are a little bit more adventure type. So Agatha Christie is very much known for her intricately plotted, like, cozy-ish mysteries, and so your basic mystery detective fiction. But there are some books that she's written, and like I said, generally earlier in her career, which are a little bit more action, which are a little bit more go. So it's been a long time since I've read one of hers that is termed a little bit more actiony. But this was a return to that, and I don't think it was as well done as those earlier ones. So this one is following the character of Victoria Jones, and at the beginning of the novel, she has just lost her job. She's a fairly subpar, I think, like, typist. She's a bit, you know, loudmouthed, and her mouth has got her in trouble again. She's been put off, and she comes across this young man in the park, and there's this kind of insta-love thing between them, and she finds him absolutely, you know, charming and desperately wants to see him again, but he is heading off to Baghdad the next day, and so she determines that she's going to follow him there. And so without any money, without any plan, she manages to, you know, kind of hitch a ride, as it were, posing as companion for this old woman and kind of conning them into taking her along with them, and makes her way to Baghdad, and then is there alone with no money, no plan, to find this guy that she's talked to for 10 minutes. It's just ridiculous. And so it follows on from there, and what happens to her, and getting embroiled in this big mystery that's happening. And I just, the whole idea behind it, and this, you know, how stupid she's being, basically, just kind of, I guess, rubbed me up the wrong way a little bit and stopped me from fully enjoying it. I guess coming after reading, I call myself a feminist. Maybe my views on that kind of thing have changed slightly. Maybe there is a life-changing moment in there. I also kind of foresaw how this would play out quite early on in it, which, you know, made me roll my eyes even more. It was definitely enjoyable. It was a lot of fun. But I think just too implausible a situation has been constructed around this, and I just... And then the last book that I've got to talk about, I technically finished in April. I finished it on the 1st, but the vast majority of this was finished in March, and that is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. This is another one that I listened to on audiobook. This one was narrated by Simon Vance. Absolutely fantastic. I absolutely adore this one. I gave it 4 stars when I finished it. I've been thinking about it ever since, considering maybe upping it to 5. I enjoyed this so much. So David Copperfield is the story of David Copperfield, and it starts with him as quite a young boy, and we follow him through until he is an adult, and it is told from the perspective of an older David writing all of this down and reflecting on his life. And it is, largely a collection of horrible, tragic things that happened to him. And despite that, such moments of humour, the way this is told, the absurdity of Dickens' characters, which is, a common feature, is just done to perfection in this. There are parts about this that irritate me slightly and things that make me roll my eyes, but in the whole package, I think this was fantastic. I just wanted to keep listening. This one has definitely become my second favourite Dickens after Oliver Twist. Oliver Twist, again, is horrible things happening to Oliver Twist and delivered with great humour, so samey here. I think I will upgrade this to 5 stars now, having talked about it some more. I think this was just a masterpiece and I would highly recommend it. These are the books that I read in March, with some outliers from February and into April, but basically what I read in March. Looking at it, it's a very interestingly eclectic collection of things, which kind of really sums up my reading. I had some real standouts, some books that I really loved. I had some books that were kind of, didn't care about so much. But in general, it was a really interesting month of reading, and I'm looking forward to seeing what I can achieve in April, which, if it's gone on this first week, not much. So if you've read any of these ones and have any thoughts, please let me know in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear. And if you have any questions, as always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!